Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's your boy Pup. We're here for week 3 of the BBR. This is my team builder because I decided to spend a ton of time looking over the teams, getting some mocks, getting a lot of help, and hopefully that's going to help me because it has been helpful so far in the BBR. So the episode will be out tomorrow with the battle. But if you guys want to see what I'm bringing, stick around just so you can see everything. I'll go super in-depth. It's like 20 minutes of, just in-depth calcs and conversations about what the flowcharts are going to look like during the game and hopefully how we're going to be able to destroy Crep tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. All right, we are playing against Crep. I have played her a ton of times. I kind of know how she plays mostly, how she definitely drafts, because she has a lot of stuff that we've seen before. So if you guys have watched me play her in like GWA, it should be a pretty similar experience looking at that team, except for that top mon, which is going to be Terra Ments. I'm going to go over everything in like pretty decent detail, so feel free to skip through. But the team building process takes like 10 times longer than the actual battle itself. So I feel like it's fine to spend a lot of time just talking about it. But first of all, looking at Terra Ments, this is like the biggest issue on the team. The only thing that can really just like run through me. Orthworm is pretty good into it, so I think that they probably run a special set like Flamethrower that should destroy me. So I can see Terra Fire with that. But if they're physical, I could see like Terra Flying with Terra Blast. Choice Scarf looks really solid into me without that Orthworm on my side. Or they could just be like Terra Fire Temper Flare. But if they're like +1, Temper Flare doesn't actually knock me out unless they have that boost. So we're able to get some Rocky Helmet chip and like Heavy Slam damage on it. But I think that they probably would run like a Roost variant if they want to beat my Orthworm, which doesn't leave a lot of move slots. Like if they want to go Terra Blast, Temper Flare, Roost, Dragon Dance sort of thing, then they have to drop Earthquake. So it's a pretty interesting decision on what they want to do. But I'm expecting probably like Scarf if it's going to be physical, or just, a good special set, which I think does a lot of damage into me. They can easily sweep us if they get any hazards up that will break the sturdy on my Ogre Pawn. Blaziken has speed boost, so is obviously super strong. Normally, I would say that Great Tusk could wall it, but they have a nice Solar Beam set that I've used in the past, so like Power Herb Solar Beam. They can go like a Rash Nature, like max attack, max physical attack sort of thing, or they can just go modest max special attack. But we need to make sure we can get past that. Besides that, I think Blaziken is kind of fine. I think Screamtail's pretty good into it. And if they want to go like special, Moltres has a great special defense stat. So we're pretty solid into that as well. Also depends on what kind of Terra and what kind of build we're going to bring with our Iron Moth. See what we can do with it. Superior Glare Spam is really good into me. Obviously, like Screamtail can punish that Pokemon, but we can't switch into Leech or Leaf Storms very much because they have the contrary ability, so I kind of get blown back by that. Only one Mon on my team can actually eat hits from that, besides like Pre-Terra Iron Moth. So Moltres Galar definitely going to be working overtime versus all the special threats here. Next up, they have Iron Crown, which is insanely good. I'm thinking it either comes as an Assault Vest pivot, kind of making sure like it completely walls my Screamtail. It's good into like REGIDRAGO if I decide to bring that. Potentially Moth, it can even take hits from that depending on what Terra I am, and it can hit back pretty hard. Or they're like a Calm Mind plus Booster Energy, because that looks really good as well into me. I do think the Booster set is a little bit scarier, but overall I think it's worse into me because I kind of run through them with REGIDRAGO without. But I can hopefully stop it with Moltres. I can make sure I like Nasty Plot through Calm Mind boost if I want to bring it like that, and just the high special defense stat and them having no super effective moves outside of Volt Switch is pretty nice for me. But their speed tier is annoying because they have 98, same as Basculin, so we can't even run like Gambit Basculin to just funny meme them. They also have Donphan, which basically has to come to this game, I think. It's a great spinner. I think I have easy rocks or spikes capabilities, and I've shown that in my first couple of games. So I think they have to bring their spinner in this one. It's also really good as like a Sneasler check. I can see Rocky Helmet going on that just to make sure, punish our U-turns, punish close combat plus Dire Claw sort of stuff into their team. It also just has the really nice ability in Sturdy, so I can't sweep them with like Moth or that Sneasler or even Ogre Pawn potentially. It depends because we have our own Sturdy. Also like Moltres like I did last week to Hunky. They also could run something like Custap, which is really good with the sturdy ability well, which I am prepared for. Milotic is a super classic Crep mon. Haze is kind of what I expect for like a Calm Mind Screamtail, although I could Encore, but it's really hard to fit all the move slots in here when I need to fit like Flamethrower to hit the Iron Crown. So we'll see what it kind of is, but I don't think it's that good in this matchup, unless they're like Marvel Scale with the Flame Orb sort of set to check my Sneasler, but I think they have plenty of checks into that Pokemon. I guess it's good for the Great Tusk as well. Being able to, just hit it with like a Scald is really annoying for me, and it could eat hits from Basculin if I choose to bring it, because Basculin's actually not that bad in this matchup. Wheezing obviously 100% comes, unless they bring like Donphan plus the Milotic to check my Sneasler. I think it just has to be Wheezing. They should run Rocky Helmet on that Pokemon to punish me. It has Psybeam, so it can hit me for a lot of damage, although I don't think it's a one-shot unless they have significant investment. But they might run T-Spike versus my team. I know I have 2 poison types, but they can easily deal with Sneasler, and the Moth will tear out of it most likely. I do have Spin, but it just punishes me if I'm not Boots. But they're definitely going to be Will-O-Wisp, so I have to make sure that I'm ready for that on both like Ogerpon, Sneasler, and the Great Tusk. Next up is going to be that Umbreon, another classic Crepmon. This is probably going to come like Spadef for like a sweeping Moth or like Moltres sort of thing, but I can easily Toxic it if I run like a bulky Moth and then basically take it out from there, so I'm not too worried about it. It also has like free setup opportunities. Even if it wants to Toxic my Moltres, I still get a lot of good stuff out of that, just being able to click Agility, Nasty Plot, and Fire Ray out through their team. Foul Play is a little bit annoying, but it doesn't even like 2-hit KO a Sneasler, so I'm not too worried about that. Zoroark Sui is very annoying just to be Illusion, so if they bring it, they might lead it, but they also might like metagame and not lead it, which is kind of what I like to do when I have Zoroark. But it has a great speed tier to me, 110. Only things that outrun it are Screamtail and the Sneasler, but Sneasler is just the fastest thing in the matchup anyways. And it hits extremely hard. I think either they bring Scarf to hit my Sneasler, or they bring like Choice Specs, which is really solid as well. I could also see Focus Sash as a lead that is kind of likely as well. And then Alcremie. Crep has 6-0'd me with this Mon before in GWA low tier, but that's not going to happen here because I have Sneasler, which clicks Dire Claw, and they don't like that, even though they do have the Wheezing. Once that Mon is gone, I mean, it's completely free to click into their team. But it really just checks the Regidrago, so if they're worried about Regidrago, they bring that, or they bring Terra Fairy on these Salamence, which I really don't think so, because they have to bring that thing offensively. But if they don't bring it, then Regidrago goes absolutely nuts, and that's what we're going to bank on this week. Basically, in this matchup, all I have to do is make sure that Salamence doesn't get a free Dragon Dance, and I should be able to win it pretty well. I guess I am scared of the Superior and the Crown, but I think Salamence is definitely the #1 threat that we have to be worried about. The first Pokemon on our team is going to be Iron Moth with Terra Steel. Basically, that allows us to beat Iron Crown 1v1 if we're able to get that Terra off before, because we don't want to switch into it clicking like a Psyshock and just OHKOing me on the switch in. But we should be able to do pretty good damage into them, even if they Calm Mind and have Focus Blast. We have a lot of Spadef investment, and we have the Mirror Herb on this Pokemon, so we will be able to copy those boosts and be able to take him down with Fire Dance. But we also, have that Terra Steel because it allows us to take on Umbreon a little bit better. So we click Toxic versus that thing, and we cannot get synchronized. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to without Terra, but if we Terra it into like some other type, like Water or something, that would help maybe with like Blaziken and Milotic, then we would be Toxic back, and that would be pretty tough. But we have HP and defense investment that lives in Adamant, Scarf, Terra Flying, Terra Blast from Salamence, and that's before we Terra, obviously. Basically, that just means like if we choose to lead this thing, we're not super worried about like a lead Scarf Salamence, because that is a scary Pokemon into my team. But we also have that special defense that allows us to live 2 Flamethrowers from a timid Salamence, because I do kind of expect it to run a special set, but it could run that Terra Flying and Terra Blast physical set if it does come in this game. I also, I think that it's really nice to have the Mirror Herb because we can copy a Dragon Dance from that Pokemon. So if they DD in my face, 2 Sludge Waves will knock it out basically all the time if they're not like super defensive. We can also copy the boost from a Superior, get to +2, and then we destroy their team. We do a ton of damage to everything. We copy the speed boost from Blaziken, so we're faster than everything on their team, even though we're already faster than basically everything. We can also copy potential like a rapid spin boost or something like that if we play it really bold. So really a lot of options for the Mirror Herb on the Iron Moth, and I think it's going to be really solid in this game. Great Tusk is next. This Pokemon is really nice. We have a Rindo Berry with our max physically defensive set. Basically, it allows us to not have to sacrifice any SPDEF investment. So we can eat like Solar Beam from Blaziken, because normally we wall that thing if they're just physical. But I think if they bring it, they're going to run Power Herb Solar Beam, so we have the Rindo Berry for that. We can also eat a Grass Knot from even Specs, Modest, Zora, Kasui, which is really nice. We obviously eat a Leaf Storm as well if they're not boosted with Superior, so we're going to be able to at least, revenge a lot of those things. We can knock out the Zoroark in one hit with Knockoff. We also have Rapid Spin because I don't want rocks on my side, because that lets Salamence set up and easily win once my Sturdy on Ogerpon in the back is broken. But we have Taunt here as well, so I can basically 1v1 the Weezing. I'm assuming their set is going to be somewhat along the lines of like Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Sludge Bomb, and then like Toxic Spikes, Toxic, something like that. So we should wall basically all of their moves. They can only Sludge Bomb me, and if we chip that thing down, then it really opens up my Sneasler, because that's one of their really, really good checks that definitely has to come to this game. But yeah, I am very, very happy with how this worked out. I needed that max physical defense to make sure we eat 2 non-Terra dual wing beats from Mence, just so they can't easily knock me out, even if they get that predict of me switching out on a potential Earthquake, since we're not bringing Earthworm this week. We have 8 speed investment just in case the Milotic wants to speed creep me. They're a little bit, under me on the speed, so they might want to speed creep up there, which would make a lot of sense, but we have a little bit of investment just for that. Next up is Big Regidrago. This Pokemon can legitimately 6-0 their team, especially if they don't bring Alcremie. We have Choice Scarf, so we outrun everything on their team, just 1 point faster than a max speed Superior. So if they run any other Scarfers, they'll probably outrun me, which I could see on either like a Men's or the Zoroark. But if they don't have Alcremie, this set actually just gets a minimum of 2 knockouts with Dragon Energy, basically. No HP or Assault Vest Iron Crown is 95% chance to be 2-hit KO'd from Dragon Energy, so we just absolutely blow that thing back. They don't have a single switch in. Umbreon with max SPDEF is like a 91% chance to 2-hit KO, so they can't switch that thing in either, although I do have other ways to take advantage of it. The plan for this, I do have Sneasler in the back. We are going to lead it if we U-turn and they want to switch into Weezing, or if they even want to switch into Donphan. Those 2 Pokemon that could potentially be like those Sneasler checks with Rocky Helmet. We're going to be able to U-turn out, go Regidrago, and we just get a knockout off the bat if they don't bring Alcremie. I guess Terra Fairy Salamence could be a little bit annoying as well. But yeah, even if they have full SPDEF on that Weezing, we have a 100% chance to knock it out after U-turn damage from the Sneasler, so I'm not too worried about my plan getting foiled in any way. But we have Draco Meteor on this as well, just in case we do get chipped down earlier in the game. Draco Meteor should be able to one-shot most variants of Salamence, even if they have a good amount of bulk, and that's after they tear them into something that doesn't resist me. But they have no resist on the team outside of Iron Crown, which gets 2-hit KO'd, and Alcremie, which doesn't look very good in this game, so I think this Pokemon is going to go wild. I already talked a little bit about this Pokemon, but Ogerpon is going to be 4th up on our team. Basically, if we get a Swords Dance and a Trailblaze up, we just win the game on the spot. They don't have the best priority. It's basically Ice Shard, and I guess like potentially Vacuum Wave I think Blaziken could get, but they don't have very good priority at all. So we just get that Trailblaze up. We're faster than everything, faster than most Scarfers. Probably not the Zoroark, but that's okay. But then we just destroy stuff. Even Weezing, if they're max physically defensive with a Will-O-Wisp, we can just outboost them, and we can at least break through their whole team. Stomping Tantrum at +2 should be able to one-shot an Iron Crown, even if they have just a little bit of HP. Actually, 93% chance to OHKO max HP Iron Crown. So yeah, that's pretty nice. But yeah, we can go through that Wheezing, we can go through like a Wish Umbreon. We just Swords Dance basically on anything that we see. Trailblaze isn't strong enough to like knock out a Milotic or a Donphan at first glance, but once we get that Swords Dance up, once we get a couple up, because we can kind of set it up in their face, we just break through. But this Pokemon also just acts kind of as a wall that, if we don't have Stealth Rocks up on our side of the team, we can't get swept by basically any Pokemon on their team. Salamence is still a little bit scary because of the potential for dual Wing Beat, although for one it does have the miss chance, and for two I think it's weaker into my team than Terrablast Flying. So I think they bring Terrablast Flying if they do have Terra Flying in general. Potential like Terra Fire to try to hit Earthworm and go with dual Wing Beat, which could get around this, but they would need to be +1 in that scenario to be able to do that. So I think what they end up doing is they go like either fully special, which we can easily beat 1v1, or they go with like a Terrablast Flying Scarf sort of set, which we should be able to revenge kill pretty easily with Ivy Cudgel. I already talked a fair bit about this Pokemon, but Sneasler is going to be 5th up on the team. Just an insane Pokemon into basically any matchup. We're rocking a protective pad set because they have the potential to run literally like 4 Rocky Helmets on their team, but definitely Weezing probably comes with the helmet, and Donphan could as well. But they obviously have that Weezing switch in, which will run like Psybeam to be able to hit me. It shouldn't be able to knock me out. I do have some extra Spadef investment just in case they do go like very invested on their Weezing to try to knock me out in one. But we have the pads that preserves our health versus the helmet. Poison Touch is insanely good versus their team, along with U-turn, so I can be the fastest thing on the field and just spread poisons, or just get it Dire Claw off. I can potentially get poisons, paralysis, sleeps off, which would be really solid, and they only have the Iron Crown that is actually immune to it, which doesn't really want to switch in on a close combat. But yeah, we just absolutely destroy them with that status into anything that's not Milotic, because they can run Marvel Scale, which would make it a little bit annoying. But we do live 2 Foul Plays from Umbreon, which is really nice, so make sure we can always hard in on that. Then we get another free U-turn out and potentially destroy and wreck house with the Regidrago in the back. But we outrun their whole team, like I said, and we have Throat Chop on the set to make sure we can OHKO a Zoroark Hisui. This is going to be my designated lead versus basically every team I see versus them. A couple of the bad leads for me would be Iron Crown for sure, and then if they lead Mence, then it's most likely Scarfed. But if they're Intimidate, it could be a weird bulky set, so we'll see what happens with that. But I'm really just worried about Iron Crown leading and being able to have the booster to be able to outrun me, or potentially Scarf. Even if they're not booster, I would probably switch out on that Pokemon, but they can hit me with a really strong psychic move, which I don't switch in too well with my team. My one psychic immunity though is Moltres Galar. After doing a ton of work versus Hunky last week, we're bringing it again. Basically this set is very, very good for Iron Crown. Should be able to beat it even if they're like a Calm Mind Stored Power sort of set, because we eat a Tachyon Cutter into a +1 Tachyon Cutter, which is really nice, and then we can rest off the damage always. We have Nasty Plot, so we can boost through their Calm Minds, and Fire Wrath does a lot of damage. Even a +1, I think I'm doing like 50% if they're not invested in HP or anything like that, but don't quote me on that. But we 37% of the time live a Terrablast Mence with Terra Flying at +1 after rocks, and we can do like 50% after Berserk to potentially revenge kill them, because if we have something like a Moth come in on them, we can do Sludge Wave, which also does just over 50%. So we should be able to revenge kill that Pokemon in some bad scenarios, but we'll see what happens there. But this Pokemon, it beats Superior because I can, I don't get glared very well because I just rest it off. I'm obviously super effective against them with Air Slash. But I also just beat Weezing, I beat Umbreon, I beat Milotic, I beat all of those Pokemon 1v1. It's also like a good switch into all the special offense on their team, even if they want to run Blaziken or Salamence as special. But really like Shadow Ball from Hisui and Zoroark kind of blows through my team without this Pokemon. And the special defense is really, really nice to make sure that I don't just lose to any of that. But this Pokemon could actually end up sweeping just because it has a ton of bulk. You get a Nasty Plot up and they don't switch in at all. I honestly think that I might just OHKO every member of their team at +1, or I guess at +2, especially if I get a Berserk boost and it puts me at +3. So that's going to be about it for my team here. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to my front office in my Discord with Hunky and Offline. They helped me a ton with this matchup. And if you guys want to help me as well, you can join my Discord. The link should be in the description. Hopefully I put it in there. Hopefully I'm not lazy enough to keep it out. But yeah, it's really nice to just have all these ideas floating around and get a couple mocks. I think it's going to be really nice for you guys to know exactly what I'm bringing, exactly what the game plan is when we face Crep next, or tomorrow, I guess, for you guys. But it's also nice for me just to solidify all my ideas, make sure everything works, go over all those calcs, have it written down so I can reference it during the battle. But yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to move to 3-0. Right now we're 2-0, top of the league. I'm hoping that we can impress some BBR coaches with how we're performing. And if I win this one, I mean, I'm looking pretty good and kind of locked in for playoffs. I think we need 5 wins to be locked in, but I'd love to get as many as possible to try to get, you know, my own pick. It's kind of crazy to be talking about the playoffs this early in the season, but I feel like I'm in a really solid spot. I love this team, and I think that we're really strong against all the rest of the competition. That's going to be about it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.